Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series. You join me at 8 a.m. as usual every single day, as much as we feasibly can. Talking about, of course, only one thing, and that is Arsenal. You join me the day after Arsenal have progressed through to the fourth round of the League Cup with a comfortable 3-0 victory over AFC Wimbledon. Let us know in the chat box if you are one of the few that were able to watch the game at the stadium last night. There were millions of Arsenal fans around the world unable to catch a glimpse of Arsenal. It's genuinely the first time I can remember that no one, where a game is just not televised anywhere, and we're relying on commentary, we're relying on people in the ground to help us out. It was an incredibly strange experience. I've actually got a piece coming out later on Football London talking about last night and the experience of not being able to watch it and reporting. Like, if as a writer and having to do like a piece about the game when you've not watched it, it's very, very hard. Was relying a lot on help from Chris Wheatley and him providing information throughout the game. Of course, having Sky Sports on as well, showing some of the clips and highlights as they happen throughout the game too, along with the Arsenal.com commentary. So it was kind of a triple threat of information throughout the game. There were some, as we say, some people helping out in the grounds, as I'm sure you're very much well aware of by now. But it was a very, very interesting evening and not one that I would like to repeat anytime soon. And I'm sure that you agree with me on that. And obviously we'll be back to usual service on Sunday with the North London Derby, fully televised, of course, as you would expect for a game of that magnitude. Anyway, I hope you're doing good. I hope you're well this morning. If you could drop a like on today's video and subscribe to the channel if you are indeed new around here, and turn those notifications on so you never miss a show, and join up as a member. I was just checking the memberships this morning, and we're actually we're 2 months, we're 2 months, so 4 months, sorry, away from our first two-year members. Now, 2-year membership is the highest longevity that you can get to, and it's the final unlock of the new badge. When we first launched memberships 2 years ago nearly, they launched with these badges, as if you remember, you'll know next to your name it will show up with a certain icon, and the 2-year membership is the most prestigious icon next to your name. And there are some members, 4 members in particular: Gary Hardy, Matt G, Glenn, as a lot of you have probably seen Glenn over on some of the YouTube channels, and Olasola, who are all now 4 months away from their 2-year badge. So fair play. And if you are only just starting out as a TGT member, as part of the TGT community, welcome first of all, and I would encourage you to do so, because the community that we're building here and in our Discord server as well is absolutely brilliant. So continue to help support the channel. Anyway, we are here, of course, to talk about that 3-0 victory over AFC Wimbledon. Now, we didn't do a live show straight after the game because, you know, as is with most of the games this season and my new job, I am working. We did do a live reaction show straight after the game over on the Arsenal Way, so you can check out my immediate thoughts with Chris Davison over on the Arsenal Way. Link to the channel is in the description. But for my general thoughts ahead of the game, I was really frustrated with the lineup. You probably saw with one of my videos that went out prior to kickoff over on the Arsenal Way, as we uploaded a couple of kind of reaction clips. I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy that Partey was starting. I wasn't happy that Patino wasn't in the squad. I wasn't happy that Balogun wasn't starting. I wasn't happy that there wasn't any youth players whatsoever in the squad, and I don't count Balogun as one. And Hine, of course, who was available. I'm talking more about outfield youth players. Hine has, with his new contract, been more involved with the first team and has been for some time. It is just a real frustration for me that we risked Partey. Now, I know, and our colleague over at Football.London, Chris Wheatley, did get told that Partey was very much pushing to be involved in the game. I just thought it was unnecessary. I thought it was an unnecessary risk. He came through the game fine, and that's all wonderful. But I just wouldn't have taken the risk if it was me. I just would not have done it. I think it became a game in which I was really excited to see what might happen with some of the youth available to Mikel Arteta, into a game that I really was sitting with kind of my hands underneath me, just really sitting on, trying not to get too anxious about the idea of Partey getting injured. I know that Partey can get injured, and that any player can get injured at any time. But why take a chance when you can take no chance at all? That's kind of where I was at the start of the game. Charlie Patino, I really genuinely was frustrated with that one, because I don't know when else you would play him. Like, we got Leeds, of course, in the 4th round of the cup competition. When are you going to play Charlie Patino? This is a great opportunity. And I don't buy into the opinion of he's only 17. He's still going to get more chances. This was a great chance. There's no guarantee that Arsenal are in Europe again next season. And there's no guarantee that Arsenal get a lower league opposition in one of the cup rounds. If you remember back to 2020-21, we had, Leicester, Liverpool, Manchester City. Like, we don't have this luxury of playing a lower league opposition side that often, and it's shown even now this season by getting Leeds in the next round. It was really genuinely an opportunity missed for me. Really genuinely was. We saw Saka and Smith-Rowe come off the bench. One of those two could have easily been Charlie Patino. We were 1-0 up at the time when we made those subs. And I know that Saka and Smith-Rowe both looked good when they came on. It was just a real disappointment not to see him in the squad. And I think he really would have benefited from his first kind of time out. Now, we will go through Arteta's press conference, of course, and go through some of his explanations and reasons. Fila says there's no rush. I just disagree with this. I just think it's a missed opportunity. I think it's an opportunity that we could have played Patino, and there is not necessarily a quote-unquote rush, but I think it's a missed opportunity, and that's the problem. And if you remember, Bukayo Saka was playing Benny at 17, and that's it. It's not a case of waking up on the wrong side of the bed. It's just my opinion about Patino. I would have played him, was I manager, and I think it's a missed opportunity not to play him. Arteta does address that in the press conference. So let's go through some of the things that he said. I need to work hard for that. He says, as long as we were 1-0 up, they were obviously still in the game. In any situation like a set piece, you can concede a goal. So we knew that we had to close the game down. We did that at the end, and it looked comfortable, but it was always a tough game. And I did find myself thinking that, following on with the commentary and the live blogs as well, that it wasn't really clicking for Arsenal. Arsenal started off the game with Eddie Nketiah and Lacazette as kind of a weird front two, and then Martinelli and Maitland-Niles playing in wider positions with Lacazette and Partey. First time they started together as centre midfield pairing, by the way, in the middle. And we lacked that 10. We lacked that creativity. We lacked someone to play those key passes. And we were very reliant, as we have been for some time, on the wide areas. Martinelli looked really bright, and that's where we got our penalty from, of course. But we lacked something through the middle. And that's the feeling I got from speaking to plenty of people that were at the game, was that we didn't really have that spark. And we only got that spark when Smith-Rowe and Saka were introduced later on in the game. Of course, Emil Smith-Rowe's introduction did bring with it the second goal, as we know. On if it was the plan for to play Partey for an hour, Arteta says yes, it was. He hasn't played a lot of minutes since he's been injured. We believe the rhythm of matches is nothing like any in training sessions. I think it was very beneficial for him. That's his explanation. Again, I just personally wouldn't have risked him. It's just me. I think training sessions up into the North London derby would have been fine, but he did it, and he came through it, so we can't complain too much at the end of the day. On if it was a risk to play him against Wimbledon, he says we didn't think so, and that's why we made the decision to play him. But it's always a risk when you play a match or have a training session. That's the intensity. At the intensity that we train. Interestingly, if you remember back to Arne Slot, the Feyenoord coach, saying that Reece Nelson's experiencing a new level of intensity with Feyenoord training sessions. So interesting that Arteta brings that up. We believe it was the right thing to do, and he was really pushing for it. So I think it worked out well. On Saka looking lively, and if he's getting back to his best now, obviously he's not been too great. But the fact that they're asking that question based off of what, a 15-20 minute cameo is a little bit premature. Arteta says he finished the game against Burnley much better than he did the week before. Again, he was seeking minutes. He wanted to play some minutes to get some match fitness. Again, I think when he came on, he looked really strong. And on how many changes he expects to make on Sunday, I don't know. I'll review the game and you will see how many changes we make. On the crowd and the players treating the match seriously and Laka's big celebration, the approach is to perform and win every single match. That has to be the aim of this football club, to have 50,000 fans in the Carabao Cup on a Wednesday night is pretty special, and it doesn't happen in many places. The players noticed that, and obviously that raises the level of demands. They made the night more special. Now, I think that it was very, 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 very much, in my opinion, I think it was very much, in my opinion, a situation where, because the game wasn't televised, that would have had a big, big effect on how many people were in the stadium. I think we can all kind of agree on that. If you want to watch the game and you can go to the game, you'd go to the game because there's no other way for you to watch it. So I get that. But of course, there is a factor behind it. On Lacazette's performance, it says he was captain because he's one of our leaders and senior players. We haven't been able to play him a lot. Last week, I wanted to play him, but we had some injuries through the game and we couldn't use him. Today, he scored a goal and he worked hard again. It's obviously Alexander Lacazette's future at the club still very much up in the air. We don't know if he's going to be staying after the end of his contract, which expires at the end of this season. The likelihood is probably not at this stage, and Arsenal will look to bring in a striker. We know that they were very much interested in signing Tammy Abraham in the summer of this season and this year. And so I think that probably indicates that Lacazette is very much well aware of his future being threatened and challenged by even more competition, and so he will probably seek a move away. But he can be useful this season. We can use him if we need to, and hopefully we can get something from him. On how impressed he's been with Nketiah, he says, I think Nketiah gives us a lesson every day in his professional live. Oh, sorry. I think Eddie gives us a lesson every day in his professionality. Is that what they mean? That sentence doesn't make any sense. Of how any professional should live in this job. What on earth did they transcribe there? There's been a lot of speculation around him, a lot of debate, but he's got his head down and trained harder than anyone else. He looks after himself and he supports all his teammates in any circumstance. So I am happy for him, and it's no coincidence that he's able to perform at that level and physically how he manages the game, because he trains the best every day. So I am delighted for him. When Arteta says he trained harder than anyone else, that's a bit of a statement. It's a bit of a statement. I mean, how do you feel about that? Because knowing that Nketiah, a player who's third choice striker, training harder than anyone else, is that expected? Because he's not getting chances, so you'd expect him to be training harder than, say, people that are comfortably in the first team like Aubameyang. Or is it a detriment to the other players? I suppose it depends on how you look at it. On about Charlie Patino and how close he was being to squads, he said he was very close, but we decided as well that some players needed minutes and it will happen naturally in time. And on how impressed he's been with Patino, he says that Charlie has been good. He's trained more and more with us and played a practice game at Colney, and he was really good. Again, give him time and we will prepare him. I hear you, Arteta. I would have played him. That's all I'm saying. I would have played him in this game. I think it was a big opportunity. I don't see an excuse not to play him in the match. He is ready. If he's good enough, he should play. It's a very, very simple thing for me. Let's go on to the next part. Where have I gone? Hold on. Here we go. Forget it's on another tab. On the mood and feeling more positive. We're nearly at the end now, guys. Absolutely. But winning football matches is what brings that connection and belief, and fans happier. They are here to support the team and they want to see the team winning. It is a natural thing. They have always been with the team, and now they are at a different level, and we need them at an even higher level on Sunday, because we're going to need them, and hopefully we can enjoy a beautiful day together. Positivity, 3 wins on the bounce going into the North London derby is what you need. On getting Leeds in the next round, he says, I just found out we have experience of that one. We know how tough it will be. Big match. Cup games against Leeds United, bringing back memories of Thierry Henry scoring that famous goal. On the momentum going into the North London derby, Arteta says it's really important because confidence raises competition and brings the best out of you when you have difficult moments. Now the boys have won 3 matches in a row, so credit for how they have handled the situation, and now they are really looking forward to playing on Sunday, which is the biggest day of the season for us so far at home. And of course, you can watch the full press conference over on the Arsenal Way. Link is in the description to the channel if you want to go and watch back Arteta's comments. So make sure you do that if you haven't already. But the idea around this thing about Arteta really pushing this team with momentum and with the decision making of the substitutes of the team selection, I think we're in a good place. I think if you look at how Spurs struggled last night against Wolves, they got through by the skin of their teeth thanks to Ruben Neves, and Connor Cody missed penalties in that shootout. Manchester United going out to West Ham, really good for this. Like, I want the League Cup to be something that we push for. I want it to be something that we genuinely have a stab at this season. Manchester City have used it really well in the past to push them towards the end of that season run, and I think Arsenal have the ability to do that as well. Now, we do move on to the last part of the show, which is getting your thoughts, your feelings, your queries and questions into the chat box. I'm just going to close this window because there is something incredibly loud outside. There we go. Apologies if there was any background noise. Pranjal says, Nketiah is above Balogun in the pecking order for Arteta. That seems to be the case right now. Benny says, I think most people at the club have Jack Wilshere PTSD, and that's why Patino is being protected so much. I mean, I don't know if Patino's injury history. I don't know if Patino has any issues behind the scenes of injuries, but maybe there's always going to be kind of this situation where we've got a generational talent and we don't want to see him turn out the same way as Wilshere did. Jamie says, hi, Tom. Who would you rather join? Arsenal with Prime Henry and Flamini, or Prime Vieira and Kanu? That's a really strange question, Jamie. Probably Thierry Henry, mate, because I'd love to play alongside him when I was a striker back in the day, although you wouldn't think so from the video that went up on the Arsenal Way. Part 2 coming out next week. Make sure you tune in for that. Just a sneak glimpse. It's more of the same. Jose NE2K says, you want us to push for it, but also pushing to start youngsters who have played 5 under-21 games. Yeah, absolutely. If you're good enough, you're good enough. And 20 minutes at the end of a game off the bench, I think would be really valuable, to be honest. Maggie says, when Xhaka starts the North London derby, how big do you think the fan meltdown will be? A, volcanic, or B, supernova? Well, one's very earthly, the other's very cosmic. So I'll probably go with the bigger example, Matchy, and say supernova levels of meltdown is surely set to happen if Xhaka starts. I predicted that I think that he probably will, and then went back on it on the Arsenal Lounge on Monday evening. I genuinely don't know. Do you think he's going to start? Let us know in the chat. Xhaka starting in the North London derby. Do you think? Not do you want? Do you think he will start? Yes or no? Throw it into the chat box. Let us know if you think he will start or not. What was the formation? It was kind of 4-4-2 that merged into the 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1 as the game went on. But it started very much out kind of a 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1 with kind of Maitland-Niles and Martinelli playing in the wider positions. What are we saying? Tim Jallo says, anywhere to see the entire game now? I am going to check Y-Scout. In fact, I don't know why I haven't checked Y-Scout already. But because it wasn't televised, Y-Scout do usually use like TV sort of streams to analyze their games. Let me just have a quick check. It does not look... Oh, hold on. Oh! Yes, it appears I can watch stuff from the game. Yes, so Y-Scout, I can watch the whole game, it looks like, but I can't watch it anywhere else from the looks of things. But that's interesting. Hey, it pays to have a Y-Scout account. It does. If you want to spend over £200 a year, then please be my guest and you can go and watch that game back. Jonathan says, Emil Smith-Rowe, Lacazette, Saka from the North London derby. What do you think? I wouldn't start Lacazette. I didn't think he was impressive last night. I think he got a goal and assist, which kind of masked a pretty dour display from the Frenchman. So I'd still stick with Aubameyang, keep trying to play him into form. I would go with Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe either side, with Martin Odegaard at 10 and playing Partey and Lokonga behind him as well. And Nketiah did score a very good goal. The goal from Nketiah, the back heel, was elegant. It was beautiful. And yeah, really very much liked it. Taylor says, hey, Tom, I'm going to start the new YouTube channel. I don't know how to get a scoreboard. Any suggestions for please? My blood. OBS StreamYards, and then check OBS scorecards. I couldn't get it to work, so if you can, you're a better person than me. But that's what I would suggest, checking on OBS. Maggie says Xhaka will start when Lokonga played all 90 mins. That confirmed it for me. Very true. I mean, Lokonga playing the entire game would kind of give some indication that maybe Xhaka comes straight in. John Daly says no, Xhaka won't start. Sambi and Partey will play. Pranjal says, I'll be more mad if Leno starts the game, and I cannot disagree with you on that one. If Leno starts the game against Spurs, dearie, dearie me. Answer says, Tom, do you think English clubs are a little timid on playing young players? Bellingham, Sancho, Pedri were all given a chance and they took it. I mean, to be fair, Pedri was signed from Las Palmas, starting games for Las Palmas, so like 16, 17. So it's slightly different. Bellingham and Sancho. Bellingham was playing first team football at Birmingham before moving to Dortmund. Sancho, of course, signed from Manchester City's academy. And proved himself very quickly at Dortmund, who Dortmund are able to play a lot more youngsters than what Arsenal are, or any other Premier League clubs in kind of their league games, that's for sure. Manchester United went out last night. I didn't actually see their lineup. I'm just having a look at it now. Martial, Jadon Sancho, Jesse Lingard, Matic, Juan Mata, Van der Beek, Bay, Dalot, Lindelof, and Telles, and Henderson. I mean, it's a strong team, whereas West Ham didn't have Mikel Antonio. They didn't use Thomas Soucek. They didn't use Angelo Ogbonna or Cresswell or Fabianski. They didn't use, who else are we looking at that I'm missing? No, Vlasic. Sofal came off the bench. Sayed Benrahma stayed on the bench. Kurt Zuma was on the bench. So Pablo Fornals came off the bench too. So, I mean, it was a very impressive second string performance from West Ham in that game. I mean, if we have a look at the Chelsea team that played last night against Aston Villa, let's have a quick look at that. Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Kante, Loftus-Cheek, Saul, Chilwell, Malang Sarr played, which is obviously a player that we were linked to. Trevor Chalobah and Reece James, and Aston Villa played with Archer, Buendia, Bertrand Traore, El Ghazi, Nakamba, Sanson, Matty Cash, who could be changing nationality, allegiances to Poland, interestingly. Tuanzebe, Hauser, Steer in goal. And actually, I thought Steer's penalty shootout, I don't know if you watched it, but it was awful. I've never seen a goalkeeper really kind of show the player where he's going to dive before he's diving for the ball. So there was a lot of first team players played in those games. So you'd have to say that these players genuinely are, these teams are a little bit hesitant at the moment. And clearly the League Cup is something that they seem to be targeting. Yep, Pranjal Sancho has been very poor so far, it's fair to say. Lyndon says, do you expect Arteta to persist with the 4-3-3? I do. I feel like he wants to play this system. I would think, though, that he may revert to the 4-2-3-1 against Spurs. I think he then might go back to the 4-3-3 playing against the likes of Brighton and etc. Alan Matthews says, do you think Tavares can replace Tierney with, do you think Tavares can replace Tierney in months? He is sloppy sometimes, but he recovers well and he's physically very present. And Saka should play at right wing. What do you think? Alan, I think that Tavares has absolutely no chance of regularly replacing Tierney unless Tierney gets injured. And I think that Saka should definitely play at right wing. John says, do you think we're better equipped to deal with Kane and Son more than any time in the past 3 to 4 years? Is a back five of Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, White, Gabriel and Tierney better equipped to deal with Kane and deal with Son more so? I mean, let's look back at the Arsenal game last season. Arsenal Spurs fixtures. I mean, let's look back. What was the last result between us? Obviously, we won at home and then we lost away. We won 2-1 in March of this year. What was the lineup that day? We had David Luiz, Gabriel, Tierney, and Cedric. I mean, we've replaced David Luiz with White and Tomiyasu and Ramsdale coming in for Bernd Leno. Is that better at dealing with Kane and Son? I think in the current form that they are, you'd have to say so. But if you have to think, Spurs did beat us 2-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and that. What was our lineup that day? We had Bellerin, Rob Holding, Gabriel, and Tierney. Is Tomiyasu better than Bellerin? I'd say yes. Is Ramsdale better than Leno? He's showing to be yes. Is Ben White better than Rob Holding? Yes. And Gabriel and Tierney are improving and have improved on last year. So you'd have to say that, yeah, our team is much, much better. Anish says, Tom, let's stream Arsenal match full replay from Wisecout for members. Anish, you're not even a member. so no, absolutely not. And I think I'd get in a lot of trouble with Wisecout if I did stream the entire game of Wisecout. Matt G says, I'm worried about criticising Sancho. Knowing our luck, he won't score until he plays for us, and then he'll score a hat-trick. Well, he scored last night against Wolves in their cup game. John says, I only watched the highlights, but boy, West Ham could have scored 3 or 4 goals in the final minutes against Sheffield United. Competition for the top 6 will really really difficult this season, let alone the top 4. I do tend to agree. Tommy says Tavares would probably replace Tierney in a while. Tierney's only 3 years older than Tavares. You have to remember that. So I don't think Tavares will stick around, to be honest. I think Tavares is a really good signing to make. 21 years of age, 7 million odd quid. Bring him into the team, back up Tierney, and in a few years' time, you sell him on somewhere else for a profit because he's not going to take over Tierney. It's just not going to happen. So I think it's a smart bit of business. Morning, Arsenal Brock. Good to have you in the chat box, mate. Musa says it was so good at the stadium last night. My first match in a couple of years. I'm really happy. I'm glad you had a good time, mate. Tis Discuss says, question, due to our bad performances in the past years, in my opinion, players like ESR, Saka, Martinelli, etc. looked better for us than they actually are. They really shouldn't start for a top 4 Premier League team. Thoughts, is that harsh? I mean, Saka saying that he shouldn't start for a top 4 Premier League team, I think is very harsh. Martinelli, I don't think is so harsh. Emil Smith-Rowe, I think is harsh. Martinelli just needs more minutes. He was sprightly, is probably the right word to use last night. He was sprightly during the game, but it wasn't really, what's the right word? Influential beyond the winning of that penalty. He didn't have that much of an impact, massively so on the game, and that concerns me. Philip, it was a very nice goal for Eddie Nketiah. Very, very, very nice indeed. And he says, I would love to take membership, but it's not available in our country and don't with VPN. Oh, fair enough. That's unfortunate. I didn't know that membership wasn't available everywhere. I know that in India you have to do a thing where you've got to renew every month or something. But I didn't know it wasn't available everywhere. So there you go. Nick B says, got a random club level ticket last minute. Boy, the upper crust have it good. The upper crust. I love that. Oh, dear. Blythe says, finally, Arsenal have posted highlights. Yes, you can watch highlights of the game on Arsenal's YouTube channel. And you can watch the press conference and the live reaction over on the Arsenal Way link is in the description. I'm going to finish things off there, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's Thursday. Will there be a show this evening? There might be. So stick around for that. There will be, of course, the Let's Talk Arsenal show, as always, as I try to on a Friday, probably around 3-4 o'clock. And I'm looking forward to some of the shows coming out over the weekend, of course, for the North London derby. It's going to be a very, very interesting game indeed. I'll see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.